Lawyers of Reddit, what's your best most badass I rest my case moment? Opposing counsel decided that I had coached my witness and gave him lines to repeat, that he was lying. Short version is that he asked the witness if he spoke to me before he testified. Witness said he had. Attorney looked like he thought he had me. Attorney asked the witness what I told him, what instructions I gave him. Witness looked him dead in the eye and said, first thing he told me was to tell the truth no matter what. He said the lawyer is never the one who goes to jail, that he isn't going to jail for me, and if I lie, I'm on my own. Attorney looked like someone took the air out of him. Everyone in the courtroom simultaneously looked at me. Only time I've smirked or laughed in court. I wanted to put my feet up on the table, like I was Vincent LaGuardia Gambini, hands behind my head, and say, I'm done with this guy. I represented a company that was sued for breach of contract by a former independent contractor. Dude basically alleged that my client wasn't paying him correctly in accordance with the contract. During his deposition, Dude admits that he never reviewed any documents to make sure his allegations were true, never reviewed his complaint before filing it to make sure the allegations in it were true, and had no idea whether or not my client actually failed to pay him in accordance with the contract. Basically, he tells me that he was suing my client because he didn't think their agreement was fair, even though he agreed to the terms when he signed the contract. The kicker is that he admitted that he owed my client money. At arbitration, he tries to flip his story and starts giving testimony that is the exact opposite of his dep. So I whip out his transcript and undermine his testimony bit by bit. Needless to say, I won that case. Not a case winning moment, but a motion winning one for sure. Think of cases like a big conflict, with motion hearings as little conflicts. Opposing attorney was insisting that ruler meant they could do X. I tried multiple times to point out ruler literally did not say that. During the hearing, the judge reached behind them, grabbed their rules of civil procedure, basically a dictionary of rules, placed it in front of the other attorney, and said show me where rule A says X. Other attorney did not take the hint, read rules out loud for a brutal 5 minutes, and gave the book back. I said judge I have nothing to add. It was pretty fun. Guy in a divorce case transferred money to the Equity Preservation Corporation. I looked at the corporate filing. There were only 2 shareholders. Knowing who they were, I asked on cross-examination. He denied knowing them. I then asked about them by name. He admitted they were his parents. Was the Bank of Mom and Dad the old name for this corporation? I do mostly solicitor work, so if I'm doing my job right I don't get a whole lot of these type of moments. That being said, I had a long-time client who was being sued, and I got to shut down the guy suing him in a very satisfying way. So my client had hired a guy, we will call Kevin, as basically a right-hand man for his company. The employment contract wasn't done yet, but they had an agreement that Kevin would work 6 weeks at a lower wage and then sign the contract and get the agreed upon wage. So the guy works decently for 5 weeks and then is given the contract to sign. He comes back to the owner, my client, and says that he has some small changes he would like to make. When the owner gets the contract back, he finds that the small changes involve removing the duties and responsibilities section, basically the job description, and the non-compete/confidentiality clause. Not only that, but he has written in a higher salary than agreed and added a bunch of new benefits for himself. Obviously, my client tells him that he can either sign the contract as it was originally laid out, or he can find himself another job. He takes the latter option. But he starts a lawsuit against the owner wanting to be paid for the 6 weeks he was supposed to work, which had already been paid, 2 weeks in lieu of notice and 5 weeks vacation pay. I got the enjoyable job of telling Kevin, in front of a judge, that he was not entitled to anything under the employment legislation and the only way he could get any of that would be if he had signed the contract. Judge dismissed the case and awarded costs to the defendant, but not before giving Kevin a lecture on wasting the court's time. Classic Kevin. Complaining witness accused my client of harassment/stalking. Said she told him numerous times that she wanted nothing to do with him. My client claimed they were dating, but whenever she got mad at him, she'd call the police and say he was harassing her. On the stand, she testified that she'd never dated him, never invited him into her home, wanted nothing to do with him. She presented a photo on her phone of him sitting on her porch to prove that he had come to her property. I asked the judge permission to look at the photos before and after the porch photo for context. Girl had dozens of photos of the guy, who was clearly her boyfriend. I showed her one such picture. This is Mr. So-and-so, right? Yes. In this photo, he's on a bed? Yes. The bed is yours? Yes. The bed is in your bedroom? Yes. You took this photo of him? Yes. He's smiling in the photo? Yes. And in this photo, he's wearing your brassiere? Yes. No further questions, Your Honor. Defendant in a bench trial for a speeding ticket said he couldn't possibly go as fast as the officer clocked him. He knew this because he videotaped himself accelerating from a full stop to the location of where the officer sat. His experiment showed his vehicle could only get to 55 miles per hour and not the 67 miles per hour he was clocked at. The ADA then moved to have another speeding ticket issued because the actual posted speed limit was 50 miles per hour. Terrible people had stolen all of this little old lady's money. They said it was a gift, but their only evidence was a document in the BD person's handwriting that was allegedly dictated. It said September 2012. No day, just the month. Clearly the rogue had forged that when she found out about the lawsuit, and, not remembering when she had stolen it, she hoped if she could guess within the month no one could challenge her. So I'm questioning her about it. Exhibit B is the little old lady's bank record. Now that withdrawal at the bottom, is that the alleged gift? Yes. Can you read the date of that transaction for me? August 25th. 2012. Thank you. My sister got T-boned by a car, causing a concussion, when I was younger. Long story short, we were in court with the judge, who asked the driver if he had ever sped before. No, Your Honor, I never speed was his reply. The judge asked him a couple more times if he was sure if he never sped. Ever? The driver was adamant that he never sped and never had before. A few minutes later, my sister's lawyer gave the judge some paperwork. She read it and said to the driver, "It seems that you have some past driving violations. Can you tell me what they are for?" Speeding. The driver had to pay medical bills for my sister. We had a case where opposing counsel was cross-examining our expert witness on hydrology regarding some silt/runoff issues. Mr. Smith, wouldn't you agree that the book I'm holding is highly respected in your field and considered to be the gold standard on the subject? Witness, I'm aware that it is highly regarded in my field. Would you be willing to explain, in your own words, what paragraphs 6 to 10 on page 121 is describing? Witness reads the passage word for word. Yes, I can read, but could you put this passage in your own words for the court? Witness, these are my own words. I wrote it. My mom is a lawyer and this was a black woman who was accused of stealing. My mother is also black, I'm mixed, and this is how it went. Plaintiff lawyer, please point out the accused/defendant. Officer, points at my mom. I'm the lawyer. Officer. Judge, dismisses case. As a young attorney, I had stated a claim that an insurance company was dragging out a case in bad faith, in hopes that my elderly client would die before they had to pay him. I was requesting that the trial date be given priority due to my client's advanced age. The judge was no spring chicken himself and seemed skeptical when he asked exactly how old my client was, maybe thinking that he was in his 70s and must merely seem ancient to a baby lawyer like me. When I responded that my client was 92 and the case has already gone on for 5 years, the judge was visibly shocked and immediately granted my motion for priority, shutting down the insurance company's attorney's attempt to respond. They wrote us a check for $1 million the next week. Thank you for watching AskReddit. Please like, share and subscribe.